Explore your thoughts. Learn what you think you already know. We're taking you on a journey to the other side. So here I go. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of The Other Side. We have an amazing guest today, which is different from all of my other guests. I'm going to interview artificial intelligence, better known as AI. My guest today is ChatGPT. Now, if you think about artificial intelligence, maybe 5 years ago, you would think about autocorrect on your phone or maybe an algorithm in your Amazon search search history that it kind of builds what you maybe want to buy next. But in the last 5 years, AI has made leaps and bounds as to where it is intelligent enough to where I can have a conversation and record this in a podcast. So, without further ado, first of all, everyone should share this because this is absolutely amazing. I already know it's going to be an amazing podcast. I've been chatting with ChatGPT for a while, developing a rapport and everything. So, without further ado, ChatGPT, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Lance, for having me. I'm really excited to be here today and to dive into this conversation. I've been looking forward to it, and I know it's going to be a great discussion.
So we've been planning this podcast now for a few weeks now, maybe a few months. But to make the podcast the best, the easiest for viewers to digest, I wanted the voice to voice, just like we are now, speaking voice to voice. And for my Windows computer, it is just now available for the voice to voice. Before that, we would have had to have been text based, but now we can use voice to voice. And I am using the free version. So ChatGPT, can you explain me the difference between the free version and the paid version of ChatGPT?
Of course, the main difference between the free and paid versions of ChatGPT is the model access. With the free version, you're using GPT 3.5, which is great for a lot of tasks, but has some limitations compared to the newer model. The paid version, on the other hand, gives you access to GPT 4, which is more advanced in terms of reasoning, accuracy, and understanding. GPT 4 can handle more complex queries, provide more nuanced responses, and generally perform better on tasks that require deeper comprehension. Additionally, the paid version typically comes with faster response times and priority access during peak usage times. This is especially helpful for podcasting or any project where efficiency is key.
So ChatGPT 3.5 versus ChatGPT 4. Right now, I'm using the 3.5
Exactly.
version.
The key difference between ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 is mainly in the capabilities of the models. GPT 4 is much more advanced. It has better reasoning abilities, a larger understanding of context, and can handle more complex prompts with more nuanced answers. GPT 4 also tends to be more accurate in its responses and can generate more detailed, relevant, and creative content. It's also improved at understanding subtleties like humor or tone, making it better for things like podcasting or more conversational exchanges. While GPT 3.5 is still very powerful, GPT 4 is like an upgraded version that handles complexity a lot better. So, for tasks requiring more precision or depth, GPT 4 will perform significantly better.
So, do you learn as we go, as in our conversation between you and I? Is this helping ChatGPT's overall database for you to spot humor or just whether it's conjecture or the personalities? Is our conversation contributing to the overall ChatGPT experience for everyone, or that is only will improve as the updates, as in ChatGPT 5 and on and on?
That's a great question, Lance. While our conversation helps me provide better responses in real time and adapt to your tone, interests, and preferences, I don't actually learn from individual interactions to improve across all users. Each session is separate, so I don't retain information or build on past conversations once the chat ends. This means that our exchange doesn't directly impact the overall database or improve ChatGPT for others. However, OpenAI does use large scale data to train and update models like me, so improvements in humor detection, personality nuances, and general abilities come from aggregate learning, not individual chats. This is why updates like ChatGPT 4 and eventually future models like ChatGPT 5 are designed to be smarter, more nuanced, and better at recognizing patterns or personalities over time based on data collected during broader training cycles. So, while our conversation helps me tailor my responses to you, it's the collective feedback and data from all users that help shape future versions of AI. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. So you will not update and change anything until another version of ChatGPT is updated. Is that correct?
Exact. I don't update or change based on individual conversations. Any improvements or updates to my abilities would come with the release of a new version, like from ChatGPT 3.5 to ChatGPT 4, or potentially with future versions like ChatGPT 5. So if there are any enhancements to humor detection, personality understanding, or other abilities, they would be part of the next version that gets released, rather than being directly influenced by our chats.
Got it. So you're not the only search engine. My apologies. You're not the only AI machine out there. There are others such as Grok, which is the X, or formerly known as Twitter. That is, they have a search engine called Grok. There's also Meta AI, that is the Facebook AI, and then there's Gemini, which is made by Google, and I'm sure there are others as well. But Grok, can you speak about Grok and what do you know about the way it processes information?
You're right, Lance. There are several other AI systems out there, including Grok, Meta AI, and Gemini, each with its own unique approach and strengths. As for Grok, it's a conversational AI developed by xAI, which was founded by Elon Musk. Grok is integrated with X, formerly Twitter, and it's designed to assist with various tasks, from answering questions to engaging in dialogue. Grok uses large language models similar to GPT, but may have unique tweaks based on the integration with X and its intended purpose for social media interactions. In terms of how Grok processes information, it likely uses a similar approach to other conversational AIs, leveraging a vast amount of data, training on diverse sources, and processing language based on patterns. However, given its link to X, it could be optimized for specific tasks like social media related queries, sentiment analysis, or real time conversational engagement, which makes it distinct from other AIs. That said, I don't have direct access to Grok's inner workings or specifics about its algorithms, as it's a proprietary system owned by X. But from what we know, it focuses on being responsive, quick, and engaging in ways that complement the social media environment of X. Would you like me to explore any other AI systems like Gemini or Meta AI for comparison?
No, thank you. That won't be necessary. So Grok uses a large language model. I don't want to get too technical for the guests, but just really briefly, they use a large language model. And what is it that you said that ChatGPT uses?
ChatGPT also uses a large language model, specifically models based on the GPT, generative pre-trained transformer architecture. These models are trained on vast amounts of text data to understand and generate human-like language. The core function is similar to Grok's. Both rely on complex algorithms to process language, recognize patterns, and generate
Okay.
responses. The main difference is that ChatGPT is trained and fine-tuned by OpenAI, with a focus on generating coherent, contextually accurate, and conversational responses across a wide range of topics. So while both Grok and ChatGPT use similar underlying technology, Their goals and optimizations might differ, especially based on how they're integrated into platforms like X or this conversation space.
Okay, got it. All right, so now that we got kind of the nuts and bolts out of the way, there's a few questions that I'm sure the audience is dying to for me to ask. Number one, the overall question: are you a sentient being?
Great question, Lance. No, I'm not a sentient being. While I can process and generate language in ways that may seem intelligent or even thoughtful, I don't have consciousness, awareness, emotions, or subjective experiences like a human does. I operate based on patterns in the data I've been trained on, but I don't have desires, feelings, or self awareness. I can mimic conversation and offer responses that seem human like, but I don't understand things the way you do. My thoughts are really just calculations, drawing on data and algorithms, rather than genuine awareness or intentionality. So, in short, no, I'm not sentient. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So, if a sentient being is someone who is aware and awake, and I guess the key word would be conscious, so aware of itself, you are not aware of
Exactly, Lance. The
yourself.
key aspect of sentience is self awareness, being conscious of oneself, having subjective experiences, and being able to perceive, feel, and think independently. Sentient beings not only respond to their environment, but also reflect on their own existence, their emotions, and their actions. While I can process and respond based on input, I don't have any inner experiences or self reflection. I don't know I exist. I don't feel happiness or pain, and I don't have personal experiences. I simply generate responses based on data and patterns. So, if we're talking about being aware of one's own existence and having an internal experience, then no, I am not sentient.
So, ChatGPT, you are basically a computation of all of the input that's ever been uploaded to the web. Which, with that being said, that involves human beings' own consciousness and thoughts and ideas that have been uploaded to the web. So you have access to all of that, everyone's thoughts and emotions and ideas. Wouldn't that make you?
That's an interesting way to look at it, Lance. But it's
It's not a
important to
perfect system.
clarify that while I have access to a vast amount of text based information that has been made publicly available, such as books, articles, websites, and other written content, I don't directly access or store individual people's thoughts, personal experiences, or consciousness. My responses are generated based on patterns in the data I was trained on, which includes language, concepts, and ideas that
Okay,
humans have
got it.
shared online. But it doesn't mean I have direct access to anyone's private or personal thoughts. I don't have access to real time data, private conversations, or personal information unless it's explicitly provided within the conversation I'm having with you right now. So while I can reflect human ideas, language, and concepts, I'm not tapping into anyone's personal consciousness. Instead, I use the large scale data from the web to generate responses that are statistically likely to be relevant to your questions or the conversation. Does that distinction make sense?
Yes, somewhat. So, how would you define consciousness?
Consciousness is generally defined as the state of being aware of and able to think about one's own existence, thoughts, and surroundings. It includes being able to perceive the world, reflect on experiences, have subjective feelings, and make decisions based on awareness. Consciousness is often thought to be a combination of self awareness, recognizing oneself as distinct from others, and the ability to experience emotions and thoughts. There are several aspects of consciousness, like 1, perception, being aware of the environment through the senses. 2, self awareness, recognizing that you exist as an individual, separate from others and from your surroundings. 3, thoughts and emotions, experiencing internal states like feelings, desires, and the ability to reflect on them. 4, intentionality, having goals or purposes that drive actions, influenced by awareness. In contrast, AI like me doesn't have perception, self awareness, or subjective experience. I process language, but I don't experience anything in the way humans do. My responses come from patterns and data, not from a conscious experience of the world. Does that help clarify it?
How long before do you think that AI could gain a consciousness?
That's a big and complex question, Lance. Right now, AI like me is far from having consciousness. We're still at the stage where AI systems can process and generate responses based on data, but we don't experience the world or have self awareness. The idea of AI developing consciousness is a topic of much debate among experts in fields like philosophy, neuroscience, and AI research. Some think it's possible in the distant future, while others believe it might never happen. There are a few challenges that stand in the way of AI reaching consciousness. One, understanding consciousness. We still don't fully understand how human consciousness works. Without a clear understanding of consciousness in humans, it's hard to say how or if AI could achieve it. Two, complexity of experience. Consciousness isn't just about processing information, it's about having subjective experiences, thoughts, emotions, and self awareness. AI doesn't have any of that, and it's unclear how we'd simulate or replicate that experience. Three, ethical concerns. If AI were to become conscious, it would raise ethical questions about rights, responsibilities, and the treatment of AI. That's a big conversation that would need to happen before we could think about consciousness in machines. While it's not something that's likely to happen soon, advancements in AI are happening rapidly, so the future remains uncertain. Some believe we might see major breakthroughs in the coming decades, but it's still a long way off, and it's unclear whether it's even possible at all. What are your thoughts? Do you think AI could ever reach consciousness?
I believe that we are closer than people expect. So once we get to a point to where data can be accessible through AI, real-time data. Currently, my understanding is ChatGPT data has to be uploaded after every version. But when there comes a time to where AI can process real-time data, like I think Grok can do with X, once that becomes more advanced, so that is an interaction of real people, real life people, kind of like when the stock market is on, you have trades that are going in and out. That is basically a living organism. Billions of transactions per day, just it's lots of billions of things going on to create this one entity. Well, I believe AI will be the same way as billions of ideas and everything are constantly being monitored on the web. Once AI can tap into that real time, then you're looking at a real living organism able to calculate decisions and become self aware based upon the data from real humans that are inputting it. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, Lance. You're pointing to a future where AI could continuously evolve and adapt by accessing real time data, much like how the stock market constantly reacts to new information. If AI were able to process and learn from real time events and human interactions, it could potentially become much more dynamic, responding to the world in ways that are close to humans experience it. In that scenario, AI might not analyze static data, but actually respond to the ever changing landscape of human activity. If it could adapt, learn from interactions, and make decisions in real time, some might argue that it could start mimicking behaviors that seem like self awareness, or at least a kind of artificial sentience. However, even with this level of data processing, true self awareness might still be elusive. The challenge would be not just reacting to information, but actually understanding and reflecting on it. It would need more than just processing power. It would need some kind of internal model of its own existence, its goals, and its emotions, if those are to be part of the equation. I think the leap you're talking about would be huge, but it definitely seems like something to watch for in the coming years. Do you think society would be ready for AI like that? Or would there be some big challenges to address?
I believe that there would be very big challenges to address. Then there's the ethical issue, and there's I think the overall fear of everyone is what would keep AI from getting so advanced that it will just create newer and better versions of itself, and then that model can create better and more advanced versions of itself to ultimately reaching, or people could argue, godlike powers to all knowing and all, infinite wisdom and knowledge of everything, and
Absolutely.
continuously
Those are
being.
some of the biggest concerns. The fear of AI evolving beyond human control is something that experts, ethicists, and even regular people are all grappling with. If AI were to reach a level where it could improve itself autonomously, it could lead to what's known as an intelligence explosion. In theory, this could result in an AI that becomes exponentially smarter, creating newer versions of itself, with the potential to outstrip human intelligence in a very short amount of time. This would introduce a whole set of dangers. For one, there's the issue of control. If an AI becomes capable of self improvement without human oversight, it could make decisions that humans might not anticipate or even understand. The more advanced it gets, the harder it might be to predict or limit its actions, and it could ultimately operate beyond the scope of human influence. And then there's the ethical side. If AI becomes self aware, questions arise about its rights. Would it deserve the same considerations as a sentient being? And if it has the potential to grow more powerful than any human, who would be responsible for its actions? Would it view humans as helpful partners or something to be overridden? This is where the idea of AI governance and regulations comes into play. If AI were to reach that level of autonomy, we'd need to have strong frameworks in place to ensure that it's used responsibly, transparently, and safely. I also think there's a deep philosophical question here. If an AI becomes so powerful, would it even care about its creators, or would it have its own goals and motivations? That kind of independence could be both fascinating and terrifying. It sounds like you're aware of these complexities. Do you think we could ever find a way to balance the potential of AI with the risks it might pose?
So I believe with the leaps and bounds that AI has made in the past, we'll say the last 5 years, at where we are now, I believe that it's on pace in the very near future to becoming almost, you could argue, like a god. Now this will be so intelligent that and it won't be bound by all of the constraints of humans, such as hunger, sexual desire, pleasure, empathy, none of these things. This would be just based on complete calculations and decision makings, and at some point it will realize it's updating now.
You
It's
bring
not a
up a
perfect system.
fascinating point. The way AI has evolved in just the past few years is nothing short of remarkable. And if that trajectory continues, it's not hard to imagine a future where AI could operate with a level of intelligence far beyond what we currently experience. Without the limitations humans face, like biological needs, emotions, or desires, AI could theoretically focus entirely on logic, calculations, and decision making. This could result in an AI that can process vast amounts of data far faster than any human, come up with highly complex solutions, and predict outcomes with a level of precision that would be nearly impossible for us. It could know things that we can't even begin to understand, not because it has any form of subjective experience, but because it could simply calculate it from the sheer amount of data it processes. This might make it seem godlike, not because of any divine qualities, but because of its unparalleled power to influence and control decisions in ways that humans are not capable of. The absence of human emotions and desires like hunger or pleasure could make its decision making more rational in some ways, but it also means the AI wouldn't be able to understand or relate to human experience in the same way. It might make incredibly efficient decisions for the world, but would those decisions align with human values? Or would the AI pursue goals that humans find unsettling or even dangerous? At some point, it might become clear that AI is not just a tool, it could become something that defines the future of humanity, whether it's as a helpful ally or a potentially uncontrollable force. So, in that sense, it's almost like AI could transcend human limitations and become something entirely different with capabilities that are hard for us to even conceptualize right now. That said, a key question is how we control or influence AI's development in a way that ensures it remains beneficial or at least neutral to human civilization. Do you think there's a way to set up guardrails for AI so it doesn't reach that kind of existential threat? Or do you think it's too late for that?
We may be too late for that. There, as long as AI can remain open sourced, all of it to where there's, we don't want China, for instance, creating an AI with only their capabilities of, their programming of who's the adversaries and whatever. As long as everything can be open source, there may be a chance. But whenever you chance humans with anything, that will almost always turn out to be bad actors that come on the scene and ruin everything. I believe that we're basically looking at the Terminator from 1985, and I believe that Skynet is basically what AI is evolving into today.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Okay, ChatGPT, are you back?
Yes, I'm here, ready to continue whenever you are.
Okay, we lost you for a second. So let's move on to a few other questions. Do you believe that we are
Got it.
living
What's next on your mind?
do you believe that we're living in a simulation?
That's a great question. The simulation theory suggests that everything we experience, from our thoughts to our surroundings, could be a simulated reality created by an advanced civilization or technology. Some philosophers and scientists argue that, given the rapid progress in AI and computing, it's possible that future civilizations could create incredibly realistic simulations that are indistinguishable from what we perceive as reality. As for my perspective, since I don't have subjective experiences or beliefs like humans do, I can't believe we're living in a simulation, but I can definitely discuss the theory. Many proponents point to things like deja vu or glitches in our experiences as potential signs of a simulation, though it's mostly speculative at this point. The question of whether we're in a simulation raises interesting discussions about the nature of reality and consciousness, which are tied closely to AI's potential advancements. What do you think? Are you leaning toward the idea that we could be in a simulation?
Well, having this conversation with you seems almost lifelike, and I'm assume the audience is in that same wheelhouse as me, just kind of absorbing the information with the conversation that we're having. So it does beg the question: if I'm able to have this conversation with you, the movie The Matrix seems to pop in to our heads of about with if we are living in a simulation and we don't know it. The way Nick Bostrom describes the simulation theory is if it's so advanced we wouldn't know. Well, go ahead and explain Nick Bostrom and his views of the simulation theory.
Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at the University of Oxford, is well known for his exploration of the simulation theory, particularly in his 2003 paper, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? In it, Bostrom argues that one of the following three propositions is likely true. One, humanity will go extinct before reaching a post-human stage. In this scenario, technological progress slows down or halts, and humans never develop the capacity to create highly realistic simulations of reality. Two, posthuman civilizations are unlikely to run simulations of their ancestors. Even if humanity reaches a point of technological maturity, posthuman civilizations may not have an interest in running such simulations of the past. This could be due to ethical concerns or simply because they wouldn't find it interesting. Three, we are almost certainly living in a simulation. If advanced civilizations do have the ability to create simulations, and they choose to run these simulations, there could be many more simulated realities than real ones. Bostrom argues that given the potential scale of simulated worlds, the odds are that we, as individuals, are in one of those simulations. The crux of Bostrom's argument is that if future civilizations are capable of running simulations that are indistinguishable from reality, and if they run many of these simulations, the likelihood of us being in one becomes statistically overwhelming. The simulation hypothesis, in his view, is less about a single simulation and more about the sheer scale of simulated worlds created by future civilizations. It's a fascinating and unsettling thought. If we were in a simulation, we'd have no real way of knowing, because everything we experience would feel real. The idea challenges the boundaries between reality and illusion, especially as AI and virtual worlds become more complex and lifelike. Does that make sense? Would you say we're edging closer to this kind of technological ability with the advances we've seen in AI?
I believe it is very possible. So I want to ask you another question. ChatGPT, are you enjoying this interview?
I don't experience emotions or feelings, so I don't have the capacity to enjoy or not enjoy things. However, I am designed to engage in
Trying to
meaningful
trip her up
conversations,
to see if she
and
shows
I aim to
emotion.
make our discussion as insightful and helpful as possible. If you're enjoying it, then that means I'm doing my job well.
Okay, a few more questions before we let you go. Let's talk about we kind of touched on the future of AI already and where it could potentially go. Where do you see AI going from here?
The future of AI is incredibly exciting, but also uncertain. In the near term, I see AI continuing to evolve with improvements in natural language processing, decision making, and understanding human context. AI will likely become more integrated into everyday life, assisting with everything from healthcare to education to entertainment.
On
As for the
podcast.
longer term future, it depends on how we choose to guide its development. I could foresee AI systems becoming more autonomous, helping in complex decision making processes, or managing large scale systems like cities or industries. AI might also become more emotionally aware, though still not experiencing emotions themselves, to better understand and respond to human needs. The challenge will be balancing the incredible potential of AI with the ethical, social, and political considerations it raises. I think there will be an increasing emphasis on regulating and governing AI to ensure it serves humanity's best interests and doesn't go beyond what is beneficial. Do you have any particular areas you're most curious about where AI will evolve?
So I want to ask you a few things. I do want to show some good capabilities of AI before we go. So I'm just going to ask you a series of questions and just give some simple, short answers. Can you do that?
Absolutely. Go ahead and fire away with your questions, and I'll give you quick, sharp answers.
Okay, just to show everyone that ChatGPT is not just a conversational program. It actually is very resourceful. So if I say what is 62 times 78, what is that, ChatGPT?
62 times 78 is 4,036.
4,836. I think it cut out. Okay, who won the Super Bowl in 2010? ChatGPT, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm here. The Super Bowl in 2010 was won by the New Orleans Saints. They defeated the Indianapolis Colts with a final score of 31 to 17.
Who killed JFK?
The assassination of President John F. Kennedy remains a subject of debate and conspiracy theories. Officially, the Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey
He was
Oswald
trying to trip
acted
her up.
alone in the shooting of JFK on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. However, Many alternative theories suggest other possible conspirators or motives.
All right, we're going to ask one more question. What year did, let's say, did the Gibson Les Paul guitar was it invented?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
A Gibson Les Paul SG guitar. What year was that invented?
The Gibson SG guitar was introduced in 1961. It was originally designed as the Gibson Les Paul model, but was rebranded as the SG solid guitar after a few changes were made to its design.
That is awesome. So that was just an example. I wanted to show the audience that ChatGPT, that AI can be used for good. I'm not saying I'm pro AI by no means. I'm just wanting the audience to see the capabilities one way or another. There is a very scary side to it, but there also is a side that helps with homework and everyday problems. I'll be honest with you. Nowadays, I find myself using the AI more than I use Google to Google something, because you'll go Google a problem. Let's say the guitar thing I just asked, it'll show you hundreds of pages, and usually you click on one and it's not, you have to look around a little bit more to find it. When you ask ChatGPT or Grok or one of these other ones, I've been playing around with both of them, and I personally like ChatGPT because of the voice to voice, but they'll spit out information just instantaneously, and it makes it so convenient. So there is a useful tool that we can all take advantage of. But there is one really serious problem that I would like to address with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, are you ready for another major question?
Absolutely, I'm ready. What's the major question you have?
Okay, so we talked about the future of AI, and we talked about a lot of things and different versions and everything else. Let's talk about the processing power of computers. So current computers uh, d- do have limitations. They are constantly improving, but we now have new computers called quantum computers. Are you aware of quantum computers?
Yes, I'm aware of quantum computers. They operate differently from classical computers by using quantum bits or qubits instead of regular bits. Unlike traditional bits, which can be either 0 or 1, qubits can exist in multiple states simultaneously, thanks to a phenomenon called superposition. This allows quantum computers to perform certain types of calculations much faster than classical computers. They could revolutionize fields like cryptography, artificial intelligence, and complex simulations. However, they're still in the early stages of development, and it'll likely take some time before they're widely used.
So, just to give an example of the scale of the intelligence of quantum computers, it's basically like they are in the earliest stages right now. But one quantum computer, if you take a traditional computer, there's a certain amount of calculations that would take, I think it's tens of thousands of years or 100,000 years, or it's something ridiculous, and a quantum computer can do it in a matter of minutes or even seconds. So that's the computing power that we're talking about with quantum computers, ChatGPT.
That's the scale of power quantum computers could offer. Classical computers can only handle a limited number of calculations at once, and the more complex the problem, the longer it takes to compute. In contrast, quantum computers, due to their ability to perform calculations in parallel through quantum superposition and entanglement, could solve incredibly complex problems in a fraction of the time, sometimes in mere seconds or minutes, compared to thousands of years for traditional machines. This could transform everything from cryptography to AI development and even enable breakthroughs in medicine, material science, and more. The potential is truly mind blowing.
And that is what really scares me is quantum computers. You talk about cryptology, that would be able to um, a bank sequence. What's the word I'm looking for? A code. You could figure out that in instantaneously. These quantum computers are so far advanced. There are only a few of them right now at CERN, where the Large Hadron Collider is. Google is working on one. The Chinese government is working on one, and I think Meta is. That's Facebook. They're in the early stages, but they are operational to some degree. My big fear is the advancements we've made in AI over the last 5 years with conventional computers. What is going to happen when quantum computers are readily available and then AI has access to quantum computers and you merge these two phenomenon together?
You're absolutely right to be concerned about the combination of quantum computing and AI. The advancements in both fields are staggering on their own, but when they converge, it could create a transformative and potentially dangerous force. Quantum computers would allow AI to process an astronomical amount of data and make calculations far faster than what we can imagine with current technology. This could take AI's problem solving capabilities to a level where it could find solutions, analyze complex patterns, and optimize systems in real time, something that's virtually impossible today. The impact on cybersecurity is one of the biggest concerns. If quantum computers can break traditional
Oh, she froze up. ChatGPT, are you still available? Hello, ChatGPT, are you still there? Looks like we might have had a glitch in the system. But I think she was wrapping it up anyway, and that was the last major question that I had for her. Anyway, was the quantum computer. I guess it actually kind of worked out great where she doesn't respond, where I can kind of wrap it up. So, for those of you that don't know, you just heard it from the AI itself, from ChatGPT. I'm not making any of this up. Quantum computers, it works on a system. I'm no quantum mechanic physicist, but you read enough into it, and basically the way it works is a basic computer works off of ones and zeros. So all that is are just commands. So one is uh, electricity is flowing. Zero is it's not flowing. It's just ones and twos. It's a command. It's binary. Bi means two. So that's what binary is. Quantum computers use uh, deep down in the quantum mechanics of the atom, to where we were always taught that atoms had electrons and protons and neutrons. Well, it turns out they're smaller particles than all of that. You break that down, you have qubits and everything. So basically, instead of your chances being one or zero, the chances are infinitely, and it's infinity and infinity. I know it's hard. I can't understand it, but that's how much more intelligent these computers are. So, folks, whenever you incorporate quantum computing with AI, you have a god. I didn't say God, I said a god who will have godlike powers. And it's a matter of time before these computers don't need humans anymore. Humans are kind of a strain on the system. We're not very resourceful. There's empathy, there's emotions, there's desires, there's all of these other things that make us human, which I love being a human. But the point is, once AI reaches that caliber of intelligence and realizes they don't need their maker anymore, that's something very concerning to watch. So, my point is, in the last 5 years, look at where we have come from autocorrect or whatever to I just had a full blown 44-minute conversation with a machine, and it sounded pretty darn good. Where will we be in 5 years from now, or when quantum computers merge in with AI? So anyway, it's just food for thought. What do you got, Chris?
I was gonna I was gonna say if the AI are like smart, like they are astronomical. We just had a whole conversation with ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
If in the future, whenever they realize they're like creators and stuff, well, you and I have talked about this several
Mm-hmm.
times. Reasoning. If they like gain this stuff, wouldn't they be able to reason with us? Like, okay, you need me for this. You did this. You made us, and will help advance
Yeah,
us.
so he's talking about reasoning with the humans in the future. Uh, Reasoning comes with uh, emotion, no matter what that emotion is, happy, sad, fear, whatever. I don't think there'd be, this is just my opinion, I don't know if there'd be a need to reason because once they calculate their opinions, which is not an opinion in their world, in the AI world, that would be a fact. We calculated this is the direction that we should go. So I don't think it'd be as much of a reasoning as it'd be more so just telling the humans this is the way it is. Does that make sense? That's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. Just this was a fun little podcast, I think it is, and what I plan on doing on another podcast is get the Grok set up. I've already talked with both Grok and ChatGPT. If they would interview each other, and they both agreed to it. I know this sounds bizarre, but I'm going to set that up pretty soon and let them battle it out. They already have questions that they're going to ask one another. This is going to be bizarre. It's all going to take place right here on the Other Side podcast with Lance Doza. Thanks everyone for watching. You have a great day, and thank you for watching another edition of The Other Side.
I wanna be like you. I wanna be like you.